They put the accident out, and the first person on the scene said it was real bad. They had 2 ejected and possibly deceased with it, vehicle overturning, plus people was ejected. They didn't know how many people might be in the van. I pulled in the driveway. Mom was coming out on the phone already. She knew there was an accident. I don't know if she knew her daughter was involved or her daughters were involved. I told her that I would take her to the hospital, and at that time I couldn't tell her anything else because I really didn't know a whole lot except 2 were flown to the hospital. Unfortunately, I have the bad task of explaining that there was a real bad accident. 2 of her daughters were flown to the hospital and 2 of them were deceased at the scene. It's hard to prepare because I knew going to the hospital that I was going to have to tell them. It's not an easy thing. Everybody's human. I have children. It's hard to tell a parent that their child is deceased. My biggest thing was I could not tell them which 2 daughters were deceased at the time. We had no idea. It's always there. You'll always remember. You just have to work around it. It's hard to do the job, but everybody's human. We have to believe that there is greater good. It's always going to be there. Even though I did not make the scene to see the children, I had the sad task of telling the parents. There's no easy way around it. You can't, you just have to tell them. It's very difficult to try to, as you say, beat around the bush. You have to be blunt and tell them that their children have died in an accident. Just give them the comfort and understanding and try to answer any questions if we possibly can. I've seen hundreds of crashes and I've had people die in crashes before, but the magnitude of this one, the way you have to deal with the people on the scene, people at the hospital, no, I've not seen the magnitude. In this day and age, police have, there's positive reinforcements for police, but there's also negative. But to help a family out and they're being so appreciative in that tragic situation makes me feel a little better, even though the situation was very sad. It's always going to be there. You just have to continue to do your job. There will be something else that will eventually take its place, but it'll always be there. Listening to them and their faith when I was there at the hospital with them, I think that's what made me feel a little better, because they knew that the children were in God's hands now, and it must have been His will or His time, their time. Their religion and their faith were helping them through this time. They have taught me that even though it's a tragedy, they still had the faith to believe on everything else that went on that day. They have 2 daughters that are surviving. Even though 2 have been deceased, their family came together. They all came together as one to be in this tragedy, to help everybody heal. We are human, just like everybody else. We have feelings, just like everybody else. There are some bad apples. I can't say there's not, but most of us do our job. We try to help the public. We want to make sure everything is safe in the world. You do not want to tell a parent that their child has passed away. You're supposed to outlive your children, not bury them before you. I was doing my job, and I think anybody else in the position that I was would have done the same thing. Even the day after, we had a debriefing, and to get our feelings out there, to see if anything bothered us, what we could do to help the situation and stuff like that. So anything tragic like this, they're there to support.